Updated, Grandpa left me $75,000 for college, but my parents gave it to the golden child, so I took them to court. Original post, I, 18 female, am going through a very tough time in my life. Not that I had an easy life before. My life has always been tough thanks to my narcissistic parents and their golden child. I have an elder sister, Mandy, 24 female. She's the problem of my life. From my earliest memory of childhood, my parents have been biased towards Mandy. Thanks to them, I have never had a happy childhood. My sister wasn't a bully, I would say, but she's shrewd and opportunistic. She left no opportunity to exploit her parents' feelings and get away with what she wants. While I don't blame her, my parents have made it this way. She's their firstborn. She has a special place in their heart, but hey, I'm also their daughter. I know my parents have their favorite kid, and that's fine until you don't make your other one feel unwanted. That's what my parents did, made my life miserable. I felt like a spare part in the house. I mostly got to wear my sister's discarded clothes because they were too new to be thrown away. I played with my sister's toys because, again, why should they waste money on new toys when my sisters were still in good condition? I remember it was only during Christmas that I got a new dress, and that too because they didn't want to look too bad in front of Grandpa and the other guests. So to avoid getting judged by friends and relatives, I used to get one set of dresses, shoes, and other accessories on Christmas, while my sister got as many as she wanted. If I ever complained about it, Mom would reason, "Don't be impatient, your sister's stuff is going to come to you next year." That's right, but it's secondhand. As a kid, I bought their logic, but when I actually started understanding the situation, I created a fuss about it. I was either told that we were too poor to afford new sets for me, or I was grounded for my behavior. I don't even remember Mom asking me what I want for dinner or cooking my favorite food. It was always about my sister. Be it Christmas, Thanksgiving, or any other occasion, the menu was per my sister's taste. Once I rebelled about it, didn't eat the food, and stormed off the dinner table, I was grounded and starved until I apologized to everyone and did the dishes for that entire week. Oh, it's so tiring to narrate my sorrow tales, but this is how it is. And you know why my parents, particularly my mom, do this to me? It's because of her sister. My mom was suffered from narcissistic parents, so she ensured to become one. You see the irony? My mom is the eldest of two siblings. She says that her parents pampered the younger one and spoiled her badly. So why doesn't she see how wrong it is then? Mom suffered the biases from her parents, so she decided not to pamper the younger girl, but the elder one. I feel Mom sees herself in my sister and treats her the way that she wanted to be treated in her childhood. You know, that kind of feeling. By the time I passed out of elementary school, I grew so resentful of my parents and my sister that I started spending my summers with my grandpa. He was the only one who truly loved me. My grandpa was not very fond of my mom. I think he was able to see through my mom's preposterous behavior. Maybe that's why he always rooted for me. The year I completed elementary school, Grandpa invited me to stay with him at his farm. I felt so relieved, I felt so free and relaxed. Grandpa gave me everything I asked for. Guilty of saying this, but I fully exploited his love. I asked for everything I couldn't get at home: dresses, Barbies, dollhouses, video games, and all the stuff I used to be craving, but my parents didn't get for me. I loved spending time with him at his farm amidst nature. He had a poultry farm and a small stable with 4 or 5 horses. He spent his days on those. Life was so fun and many days with him, I never wanted to come back home. When it was time for my high school, I insisted I'd get admitted to a school near my grandpa so I could stay with him. My parents were more than happy to get rid of me. So from freshman year in high school, I was put up with Grandpa. It was needed for both of us. He was getting old and needed someone to help him out, and I needed an escape from my toxic family. I was in my junior year in high school and Grandpa fell sick. Maybe he knew that his day was near, so he called everyone and disclosed his will. He gave his farm and stable to 2 of my uncles. He gave $150,000 in cash and savings to my dad, out of which $75,000 was for me and for my college. He made me promise that I would complete my college education. Mom grumbled because others got properties and farms while Dad only got a few grands. Grandpa reminded Dad that he had already taken his share of the property and sold it off to pay off his debt and start a business. Just when I started my senior year in high school, Grandpa passed away. It was the saddest day of my life. Now I have no one to fall back on. I had to move back in with my parents. It was not pleasant. I hated it. So did they. As my graduation day is nearing, I asked my parents for my $75,000, which Grandpa left for me. I had to fill out college applications. That's when the problem started. Whenever I asked about my money or mentioned college, they would make strange faces and ignore the conversation. When I lost my patience, I put my foot down and asked them, "What's the matter? Where's my money?" That's when Mom said that they had given that money to my sister for her business. What the F? The money was supposed to be for my college. They say it's no big deal. I can wait for a year because I'm still too young to go to college. I said, hello, how can I be young for college when my classmates of the same age are getting admission? When they couldn't reason with me, they pleaded with me to give them a year's time to pay my college tuition. I said, why can't the golden child wait for a year to start her business? I can't waste a year. I don't know what options I have to retrieve the money. Any suggestions? Now for the updates. Update 1. A lot has happened in the last few months. My parents asked me to wait for another year. I didn't agree and pestered them for the money. They got mad at me and called me mean and selfish. They're gaslighting the situation. Not only this, my sister Mandy has started a campaign to portray me as the bad guy. I lost my crap when my cousin told me that Mandy is going around and telling everyone that I'm jealous of her and want money out of her. I told Mom if they don't give me my money, I'm going to tell everyone that they have gone against Grandpa's will and given my college fee to their useless daughter. Mom got furious and said, "Do you want to go to that level? You better pay us and have your own meal. Calculate the money we spent on you for 18 years and we're even." I fought back like, what the hell? They are still feeding their elder daughter who's 24, divorced with a child, and here they're being so mean and not giving me my money. I have always got good grades, but they've never been proud of me. While their golden child brought shame to them, yet they're having her back. Oh, I didn't write about my sister. While I was living with Grandpa, my sister got knocked up by her boyfriend and got pregnant. By the time she tested it, it was too late to get rid of it. She had to inform my parents about it. They were disappointed, but there was hardly anything that they could do or would do about it. Mom, being a conservative Christian, got her married to her boyfriend. They both didn't want to get married, but Mandy had to because Mom left her with no choice. Her boyfriend was a bum. He never wanted to get married and take the responsibility of the child. But my parents chased him down. After the baby, he abandoned my sister and her baby. My parents tried to nab him down, but he had evidence of my sister mentally abusing him. He sought divorce on this ground. My parents had to bring her back home. They had been taking care of Mandy and her child. After Grandpa's demise, when I came back home, I found that it's Mom who's raising the kid because sister is often out. Sometimes Dad got furious at Mandy for leaving her child for Mom to take care of. Mom came running to her rescue saying Mandy's busy finding a job for herself, so she's out. That's not true. I saw her so many times lurking around in nearby cafes and parks with boys. She's a school dropout, so she's having trouble finding a decent one. Could I care less? When she couldn't get a job, she insisted Mom for the money to start her business. Despite all this, my parents still supported her. They gave her the money without even asking me. Until I posted here, I had no clue what options I had to retrieve my money except for asking them. So the next time I asked for money and they pushed back, I said I would be suing them for violating Grandpa's will. Their faces turned pale. They understood I no longer was the girl that they could exploit. After returning from Grandpa's, I had already started putting my foot down on their exploitation. When I told them that I would sue them for the money, they lost their crap. It was unbelievable for them. I was no longer the gullible and vulnerable little girl. Mom pulled out a notepad and scribbled the monthly expenses they had spent on me. I mean, that woman literally put a quarter of the expenditure on my name, then the school fee and Christmas dress. I was in awe while she doodled it. And at the end, she was like, forget about the $75,000. You owe us $200,000. Pay us before asking for your dang $75,000. I got into a heated argument with Mom and then stormed out of the house. After lurking the block for an hour, I took a bus to my grandpa's house where my uncle is living now. I asked for Grandpa's diary and took his lawyer's number. I called him up and explained the situation. I asked him if he could help me out. He assured me that I'm entitled to the $75,000 Grandpa left for me, and it was his responsibility that everybody gets it as per the will. He said he would be sending an official notice to my parents to give them the money, and if they default, I can sue them. That's such a relief. The notice is going to reach them in a week. I'm happy to get help, but I'm equally worried about my parents' actions upon getting the notice. God knows what they're going to do with me. Update 2. This is going to be a smaller one. Just wanted to let you all know you guys were so right that my parents are going to kick my butt. I was mentally prepared for the imminent. I spoke to my friend about sharing the condo with her. I took up a part-time job at a cafe. The pay is too low, but they let me have some leftover food at the closing hour. I'd already packed up my belongings the day before the notice arrived. As expected, my mom kicked me out upon receiving the notice from a lawyer. She abused me and threw my stuff out of the house. I made the mistake of not moving out before and letting them enjoy the pleasure of kicking me out. She said that I was like a snake, which they had been feeding in their backyards because I lived and survived on their money while planning on biting and backstabbing them. I yelled that they left me no options. I cannot jeopardize my life and my career because of their narcissism. The lawyer had given a month's time to my parents to respond to the notice. They're about to breach the timeline. I think they're not taking it seriously because Mandy called and abused me for giving a tough time to the family. She said the parents are not going to give a penny to me and I cannot do anything about it because I don't have the money to sue them. I didn't reveal my cards to her. I silently heard her out, and when I could not take it, I hung up on her. I told my lawyer about it and he said we can surely sue them if they don't respond by next week. Update 3. I suffered a severe backlash from my parents for suing them. Actually, I didn't want to press any felonies on them, but they left me with no choice. I thought that the lawyer's notice would do the job, but they didn't respond to the lawyer's demand. I went home to tell them that they had better comply with Grandpa's will, else I'll have to seek legal paths. They ganged up against me, hurled abuses at me. Mom even threw things at me. I had left some of the non-essential items at home thinking of taking them later. Mom pulled it out of my closet and broke into confetti in front of me to hurt me. I was there to sort out the matter without a legal hassle, but it seems they wanted a ride. I came back and I told my lawyer to press the charges against them. He happily did it. When they received the court order, they panicked. Mom called me and said that we can sort out the family matters within us. There was no need for a legal battle, really. So I went home to sort out the family matters, but they were the ones who turned hostile towards me and left me with no choice. Now the ship has sailed and they have to follow a legal path. I'm not in for any compromise. During the court hearings, Dad asked to pay the $75,000 as per Grandpa's will, but Dad dropped his guns and showed his bank statement that he didn't have so much money. He said that he would pay $10,000 monthly, but my lawyer argued that I need that money for my college tuition and $10,000 monthly won't suffice. The attorney ordered that Dad would have to pay my tuition and other needs like accommodations and food up to a minimum value of $75,000. If my expenditure exceeded that, I'm on my own. If my expenditure doesn't cover $75,000, Dad would have to pay the balance amount. I didn't quite like this idea of still being dependent on him for the money, but I was left with no choice. Dad actually didn't have $75,000 to give me at one shot. I resisted this middle ground, but Dad pleaded with me with teary eyes and promised he would not default, so I agreed. But I told him in that case, if he or Mom creates any fuss about it in the future, I'm going to sue them again, and this time I'm going to demand compensation for the mental torture. He agreed. Meanwhile, Mom and Mandy went behind me. Mandy has been telling everyone that I had been given hypertension to my parents and brought shame to the house by dragging the family to court. Well, this is irony. There isn't any shame and disgrace when she got knocked up, but I brought shame by just asking them for my own money. Wow. You know what? I don't give a dang about it anymore. They labeled me a black sheep, and now I guess I'm happy being one. Update 4. Hey peeps, I know it took a long time to update. I was busy settling into a new life in college. I graduated with top grades from high school. I sent the convocation to my parents, and knowing that they would not turn up. Surprisingly, Dad showed up. He seemed happy, and for the first time, he said he was proud of me. It took him 18 years on a court case to realize that I was also his daughter, and I too needed the love and care. Doesn't matter. I have moved past it. I quit my job at the cafe and moved to my college dorm. The money I get from my dad covers for my college tuition fees and accommodations and food. Beyond that, I'm on my own. I took a part-time job near the college campus. I'm also giving math lessons to my classmates for some extra bucks. I'm good at math. Quite a flex, right? Dad has been sending the money quite diligently as ordered by the court. Some of you asked about my equation with my dad and where he was all this while my mom was being mean to me. So here it is. Dad was non-existent to me. Dad saw everything wrong that was happening to me, but he chose to look the other way. He ignored my problems and never questioned Mom for her behavior. He obliged whatever Mom said. In fact, he considered that my mom made good decisions to use my sister's clothes for me because apparently Mom was saving his money. Throughout my childhood, I could see my dad struggling financially, so any opportunity to save a penny, he's game for it. So in that way, if you see, he always supported my mom. I'm also not sure how he reacted to Mandy's unexpected pregnancy. What little I know is through cousins and relatives. Mandy's wedding was done so hush-hush that no one knew when it happened, not even me. Like I said, I was living with Grandpa at the time and I could care less about what was happening in my house. If I have an update about my current situation, I couldn't be happier. I'm living my dream life of attending college and securing good grades. My relationship with my dad has gotten better after the court ordeal. Mom and Mandy did their thing, complaining about me and bad-mouthing me, showing me as the bad guy. Mandy got into trouble with the cops. The money they had lent to Mandy got swept away. Mandy had opened a secret gambling business under the cover of a gaming zone. My parents didn't know about it. They thought it was actually a gaming parlor, but the cops nabbed her down and seized everything. All the machines and equipment were seized. Whatever little money that she had in her bank account, my parents used that to bail her out. So in the end, she's left with nothing. That is what she has done with Grandpa's hard-earned money. I couldn't feel more satisfied, to be honest. Deep down, I didn't have a good feeling about pushing Dad to the corner to get my money. Now I feel glad that I fought back because Mandy didn't use that money for a good reason. She opened a homework and gambling business. After that encounter with the cops and the prison time, Dad threw her out of the house. Mom tried to advocate on her behalf, but Dad laid a choice to Mom. It's either Mandy or Dad. Mom doesn't work, so obviously she chose Dad and asked Mandy to get a job and move out. Mandy has been using her child to emotionally manipulate Dad to let her live in the house, and she had been successful until that gambling thing came out. But now I heard that Dad is no longer buying her BS and has kicked her out. She's living with her friend. But God knows how long that would last. She has not contacted me for help. How could she after all the torture she and Mom had done to me? She better stay away from me. I won't shy away from humiliating her further. Today, before writing this update, I was reading my initial post, and it made me tear up. I was in such a bad situation back then, had just lost my support system, my grandpa. My parents ripped me off of my grandpa's inheritance. I was trapped in my own house by my narcissistic parents, and I was denied a college education. There was so much uncertainty about my future. All I could see was darkness and helplessness. But a huge thanks to this community for all the support. I still miss my grandpa. It's because of him that I'm in college today. He's my guardian angel. I know he's blessing me from wherever he is now. Story 2. I, 32 female, just found out my partner, 34 male, of 4 years cheated on me over 2 years ago and a few months ago. How do I move forward? I was cleaning out a rim and the pen from his journal fell out. The bookmark string was also out, so I opened it to mark the last page where the pen indentation was and saw an entry from late last year. I wasn't intentionally trying to snoop, but one line jumped out at me and I found myself on the floor reading his journal. He wrote in that entry that he kissed this person a few months ago while I was pregnant. My heart dropped and I started shaking. I contemplated on whether I should just stop reading, but I couldn't. He wrote about how much he wanted her, obsessed with to be exact, and even that they exchanged drunken I love yous that night. I kept reading and saw this was the second time, but things didn't go as far as the first time. As if this was happening while I was pregnant wasn't bad enough, there was a time something else happened too. So I flipped through the journal and found a previous entry from 2022 that he had sex with her. Both times he was drunk. And what he wrote the second time wasn't that drunk. Whether he was drunk or not, he still managed to make it to her apartment the first time and went as far as kissing her the second time, knowing I was at the home pregnant with our child. He was very candid with these entries, said that he can't stop thinking about her, wrote that he thought about being single to try it out with her the first time, or at least have her as a side chick and present terms which she rejected. The second entry was more about him trying to understand what this draw to her was about. He wrote that the touch was underwhelming and that she doesn't compare to me by looks, body, or as a potential partner future. And knows it was wrong, but the way that I read it, it seemed like she was the one putting up that wall, and if she said yes, he probably would have engaged in a full-on affair. I later figured out that this was someone he worked with, someone I'd talked shit about with him as the problematic coworker. I felt like a dumbass for even saying her name so many times, and he just let me, knowing he cheated on me with her. So many times I touched this journal while cleaning before I was even pregnant, and in there was the truth the entire time. I confronted him about it, and initially he was totally stunned, but came clean right away. He was very remorseful and said it was just 2 times, and the second time it was just a kiss. I asked him why did he write that he loved her and was trying to have an affair with her, and he said he didn't mean it and was just processing it, that he's different and that he's clear about what he wants, how it was a mistake and that could possibly jeopardize his future with me, how he's a different person than he was last year and the year before when he wrote that he loves me and doesn't want to lose me or our family. He was quick to get us into couples therapy 2 days later, and I learned a lot from that first session. We're supposed to go every week now, but what if I can't get over this? I'm just not sure if this is something we can come back from or something I can learn to forgive. He lied to me for this long, and I'm not sure if he doesn't have real feelings for this woman, despite him saying over and over he does not. He did a consult with another therapist who said based on what he shared, he likely had a problem with binge drinking and has led him to self-sabotage. In our first session, he told her therapist that it wasn't worth it and he wants to do everything to rebuild trust because I'm the one he wants to build a life with. They still work together, and as long as he's there, they would still be communicating with each other. He makes really good money, but said he'll look for a new job if that's what it takes. But for now, he's going to have to keep working there and seeing her. Not like it makes a difference because he's been there this whole time and I just didn't know. I can't shake this hurt he caused me on top of being lied to all this time. I love him so much and most of me wants to work on it, while a part of me wants to walk away. I know effing someone else wouldn't make me feel better and it wouldn't make us even. Before finding this out, I thought this was my best relationship ever. He was smart, thoughtful, a good communicator, family-oriented, someone I could see a future with, and now we have a baby. I'm now faced with a decision to work on it in therapy or walk away. There was so much good in our relationship before this, or I guess during this lie I was living in. The thought of starting over at this age, now with a baby, seems daunting, but more because I still love this man, and despite all of this, I don't want anyone else, and I'm not sure I want to let him go. Could you ever forgive infidelity? That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you.